Hi, welcome back to the second tutorial in the Accounting for Traders and Simple Books series. In this tutorial we're going to show you how to enter your opening data and your firm's details. Now these are under the maintenance menu, so once you've logged in, go to the maintenance menu and you can see a number of items down here. So first let's enter the firm's details. Right, there's a number of tabs along the top. So we're going to do General Information, ABN and GST, Financial Year, Invoice Items and Quotation Items. Now for some people the invoice items and quotation items may not be relevant, but they are there. So firstly, enter your firm's name. And we'll put in an address. And a phone number. And if you want to put a mobile number. And the color theme at this stage you don't need to worry about, so just leave it at 1. Then we go to our ABN and GST information, and you enter your ABN information, whether you're subject to GST, what your GST reporting frequency is, and we've already established a GST control account for you in the General Ledger Codes, so unless you wish to change it, just leave it as it stands. In the financial year, because we started with our first year of 2017, you might remember in tutorial 1, and that just tells you the various dates, but also accumulated earnings has been set to a standard General Ledger Code that we've added for you. So basically there's not much to fill out on that page. On invoice items, assuming that you have acquired the invoicing function, you can put your very last invoice number, and if there is a default to a string, like it might be for a state or a particular product type, where you do have additional information on the invoice, you can pop it in there. So it would come up as being ABC 21003 for the next invoice. Now the invoice payment terms, you can fix all of those to your specific requirements, and likewise the invoice footer, you can put your details of your firm and contact details if you wish there. Now the choice of invoice or quotation design, there are 2 designs, 1 and 2. You can choose whichever one you wish. This will be discussed in a further tutorial, but for the time being we'll assume that the default design number 1 is okay. If you have a display background logo, when you signed up for a subscription it would have asked you that information, and you can upload an image so that we can add it to your data information and it will be printed on your invoices. But again, there's a whole section there on invoicing, and we'll discuss it at that time. Similarly with quotations, you can put the terms of quotations there, which may be slightly different to an invoice terms, but it still will use the same footer as shown under the invoice items. So that invoice footer will show on quotations and on invoices. So once you're happy with the information that you've put in there, then you click on Save. Now the next thing we need to look at is your bank accounts and credit cards. Now we've already given you 3 standard names if you wish. You can add a new account by clicking on this button, But what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll edit an item. Now when you see a pencil, you know it is an edit icon. So we click on edit, and here we are, bank account 1. So we might change that to ANZ general account. Now it has already been allocated a general ledger account, being 701, and we'll show you how to change that as well later on in the general ledger code section. You enter your last check number, assuming that you use checks, although these days it might just be a reference number for you. So if there is a check number, you can pop it in now, and if there's a receipt number, you can put that one in as well. Now if this is your main bank account, you can flag it as the default bank account just so that it goes to the top of the page and makes it easier for you to input information. So once you're happy with that information, we'll click on save, and then we'll exit out of there and we go back to our listing. And you can do the same here as well. If you wish to add more accounts, then it is just a case of clicking on the add new account and filling in the details. But probably it's not a good idea to add new bank accounts until we have added some additional ledger codes. So we'll just cancel there for the time being, and we'll move on to the next section, which is general ledger codes. Now there are, if I go down to viewing 50 items, we can scroll down and see we've got some income items, some expense items, some assets, liabilities, and owner's equity and drawings, which would all be familiar to you. But let's say, for instance, we wanted to add that second bank account. Now at present we've got bank account number 1 and not much else. Okay, so we'll add a new code and we'll call it 702. So 702 is the ledger code. The name of ANZ GST account. That might be an account you put your GST money into. Now it is an asset, although it can be assets, expenses, income, liabilities, or owner's equity. Does GST apply to this code? Well, of course it's an asset, so generally no for that type of asset. And on the BAS form, is it capital purchases, export sales, or any of those? It's just not included in the BAS statements because it's a bank account. So once we've got it, we add the new code and it's done. And if you go back to the general ledger codes, you can always click on a menu item at any time that you want to go to something different. Okay, so it doesn't always have back out buttons like exit or close. At any time you can click on another item and you'll be able to go straight to that item there. And so if we scroll down again, we'll see that in 702 we've got ANZ GST account. Now of course you can change that one there, and we did say that we didn't want bank account number 1 so much as ANZ general account, and that's the description that will appear. And save the record, and we can exit out, and if you go back you'll see it's now ANZ general account. That's what will appear on your balance sheet and trial balance. The next items, general ledger types. There's no need for you to worry about those items. You don't need to change them. If you want to add an additional column, you can do that, but generally it won't be required. Similarly on BAS statement types, again there's no need for you to do that because they are standard Australian Taxation Office designations, so we just leave them as they are there. The one last item is opening balances. Okay. Now, for the very first time, you want to maybe put in your opening balances as at the 1st of July 2016. Okay. Now, if you know what they are, because you've had a previous general ledger system, then you can pop them in at this time now. So, for instance, usually all of these items, the income and expense items, will be clear. Because you've just rolled over. You basically just want your balance sheet items. So you might say that you've got $1,000 in your bank account and you've got $25,000 worth of plant, and you've got a liability here, loan on equipment, so that might be, say, $15,000. And your accumulated earnings, that might be, say, let's just say that's 2,000 to 12,000. Okay, so we'll just say you just got those 4 items. Okay, and whoops, we just save the changes, and that's now put in. Whoops, we're not quite balanced, are we? So we've got to add another $1,000 as an asset. So let's just say that we've actually got 26,000 in plant and equipment. And again, we'll go to the top of the list and save the changes and then close. So now we've dealt with our opening balances as well. So that concludes this particular tutorial, and in the next one we'll move on to adding other bits of information to do with invoicing customers and products.